Good morning, everyone. Dr. Victoria Skirbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. I'm up here in my upper garden, I guess. I don't know if we'd call it a garden. I'm going to call it an upper orchard, because here is my little peach tree. It's so cute. And I was like, oh, peaches, maybe I should pick them. And I touched one, and it fell. And it looks delicious, so that is going to be part of my breakfast today. So today is September 1st, everyone, and for those of you who keep track of these things, it's Wednesday. Unless, of course, you're in Australia, New Zealand, and you could be listening to this on a Thursday, and it's already September 2nd there, so always ahead of us. So today the moon has shifted into Cancer. It shifted into Cancer very early this morning. So September starts with that Cancer moon, which is very sensitive and empathetic and security conscious. And today we have two aspects worth talking about. One is a sesquiquadrate between the Sun and Pluto. The other one is a sextile between the moon and the sun. The Pluto Sun sesquiquadrate occurs around a little after 3:30 p.m. on the East Coast here, and the sextile of the sun and the moon happened later. I think around 5 or 6, maybe, if I remember. But later. But the energy of both of those are around all day. I want to talk about the sun and the moon first. The sun and the moon sextile is that part of the lunation cycle, or the synodic cycle between the sun and the moon, where we move into a more progressive vibe. We are concerned with humanity in general. We realize that perhaps we are brothers and sisters keeper, and it's time for progressive change. Now, with sextiles, it's always a choice. You can utilize the opportunity or you can waste it. It's up to you. You're not forced to do anything, although you are mentally stimulated to go in that direction. And so it is an opportunity for us to maybe make some progress on those issues that are going to help people. And of course, down south, we just had Ida go through New Orleans, and people helping people now because we have no choice, because otherwise people have nowhere to live and nowhere to be. And of course, we know that this particular Ida hurricane went from a category 1 to a category 4 in like no time at all, because it went over the Gulf, and the Gulf is like, the water temperature was like 90 or 88 or something. I mean, why anybody would jump into that? It's like jumping into a pot of boiling water. I don't know how anybody cools themselves off, and of course nobody's going to be cooling themselves off there anyway, because there's no electricity. So they're in dire straits. We send our love and support in their direction in whichever way. If you can do it financially, great. If you can do it physically, great. If you can only do it energetically, great. It all counts. It all counts. And of course, what you can do. There's so many tragedies and so many things going on that it's almost hard to pick one, right? But the nice thing about working your energy and sending love and protection and visualizing these people getting help, you actually are on the higher levels creating the structure for the boots on the ground, so to speak, if you don't mind me saying that, for things to move easier. It's like when you in the old days of the Soviet Union and the Olympics, when they would like win everything in like gymnastics and stuff, most of what they did with those gymnasts, besides probably giving them some illegal substances, but that's another story for another day, is their practice wasn't so much physical, which of course they did, but it was a lot of mental practice. It was a lot of visualizing and seeing you do your routine. So you set it in your mind, and then your body just follows along, as long as your body is, of course, conditioned to do that, right? So there's a lot of wisdom in that. And so we can do that with our own minds and our own energy. So that is the sextile, and we do want to help, and we all can help in our own way. So don't think just because you're far away or you don't have the money or whatever that you can't help the situation. You can always help the situation. I'm going to walk over here a little bit. So the little mosquitoes on this side of the yard will have an opportunity to bite my ankles. Oh, yes, things are very overgrown back here. But I made a choice, actually, to keep the upper yard a little wild. But I think I'm going to have to come through with mow some of this a little bit, because the high grass is not good when you're trying to avoid ticks. So I will come up. After Ida comes over us, I think it's over New York and New Jersey and Delaware. That area is getting inundated. They don't really need more water either, but they're getting it. And I think it's coming up here tomorrow, Thursday. So that's the weather report, but this is an astrology report, right? So let's talk about the other thing that I mentioned, the sesquiquadrate between the Sun and Pluto. Pluto always brings around issues of control, right? Pluto, especially in Capricorn, likes to control things. I think that's why people are really freaking out about the government taking over and wanting to control us. They're not really. I mean, the energy is there, and to a certain extent, there may be some truth in that. But I don't think people are putting chips in the vaccines, and the worst thing is asking us to put masks on our children. I think you just sort of need to be safe in these situations, especially when you're responsible for a child. But that's my opinion. Back to the astrology. How does that happen? Just go right off. So there can be this feeling that people are trying to control you, or you feel controlled, and that you have to fight for yourself. And to a certain extent, we do kind of have to fight for ourselves. We can see this in the outer world with the rise of fascist and authoritarian governments. We can see it in places like Poland and Hungary and the Philippines, and now that Trump is no longer president, we've sort of dodged a bullet, so to speak, but we still have a long way to go before we united we stand, divided we fall. We're pretty damn divided, and perhaps it's time for America to step down from the world stage and be the big man on campus. Because we have so many internal things that we have to deal with, that we need to look at ourselves and work from the inside out, right? That's how most people have to do it, and that's how most countries have to do it, right? But we can see this energy of feeling like the man is like looking over our shoulder and trying to control us, and but this kind of aspect, and this is just like a temporary aspect at this time. Of course, this is a lot of what I'm talking about with the authoritarianism and all that stuff really has more to do with Pluto being in Capricorn and squaring Eris in Aries. So that's really the backdrop of all of it. But this particular aspect today, you may feel like somebody's trying to control you, and so you kind of have to dig deep for your own sense of self. And you will realize that you are stronger than you think you are. So just be aware of that. Ultimately, I think people can imprison your body, but they can really and I guess they can imprison in your mind if they brainwash you. But we still have choice. And, we maybe don't have like a CIA guy, with a rubber hose over us, brainwashing us. But if you watch a lot of media, that's a very subtle way of brainwashing. You can see how even the more liberal areas, more liberal stations are giving like Joe Biden a lot of crap because he got out of Afghanistan. It's because the people who back those stations are the military-industrial complex. So you have to be aware of these things. And of course, we're getting more and more aware of it because there are other options besides, cable TV to watch the news. There's all kinds of great stuff on the internet. Not all of it is good. Not all of it is accurate, but there are some really, really good people out there. I'll tell you who I watch only because you guys might be interested, and I'm not telling you to watch them, right? I like Democracy Now! I think it's a great show. I think you get stories you don't get anywhere else, and it is funded by the public, right? PBS is pretty good, although they tend to be a little more corporate, in my estimation. And I like online, I like David Pakman. I don't know if you guys have ever seen him. I think he's very balanced. I think he's non-reactionary. I like TYT, but they tend to get a little bit more on the sensational side. And they have these like feuds with other people and that stuff, it gets people riled up, but I'm more interested in the information than I am in getting riled up. I don't really need any help getting riled up, right? So that's just an aside. You can take or leave that. And for those of you who don't want to hear about politics in your astrology, I apologize for that. But that Pluto Sun thing is going to make us feel like people are bossing us around. So the other thing is that tomorrow we have the exact opposition between Neptune and Mars. And if you feel like you don't know which direction to go in, if you feel confused, what do I do now? That kind of energy, that's permeating this whole time. It almost feels like there's a Mercury retrograde going on for a lot of people because it's very difficult to see what direction to go in. That is Neptune working its magic, I guess. And tomorrow it opposes Mars. Exactly. We'll talk about that tomorrow a little bit in more depth. I am going to get the Astrology and Kabbalah of September out today. I have done most of the work on that, so I'll be able to put that out. It's going to be for the Kabbalah, the numerology, and then the astrology of the first, say, 2 weeks of September, which is really a week and a half, right? From the 1st to the I don't know, the 10th or something like that. But you'll see, it'll be up a little bit later today. And my tarot scopes, I did all my tarot scopes, and only 2 of them completely uploaded because for some reason my computer decided to have a nervous breakdown in the middle of it all. So I still have those readings. I will get them up today as well. I think I only got 2 of the air signs up. So don't think I'm not thinking of the rest of you, because I am. And they're in there's an expression, they're on deck. They just haven't made it to the to home plate, to go off into the ethers. All right, guys, I'm going to let you go. I know this wasn't a very interesting look about, but it is beautiful in its own way, in its own wild way. It's very, very green. There's not a lot of flowers up here anymore. And it is a little noisy because it's close to the road, but still looks a little bit like a secret garden. And I'm going to go finish picking. I just picked another. See, now I have 2. I'm going to go pick some more peaches. Much love, everyone. Take care. Namaste.